What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us. This is Girlfriends with Girlfriends. And as you can see, there's only two of us today, and I have one earring. The one earring is because this one won't go in my ear. I don't know why, but I'm just going to go with it. And most importantly, it is my Ghanaian queen. She actually just got back from Ghana. It's Mary Ando. What's going on? What's the news from the motherland?
Hey y'all. I wish I was still in the motherland. But happy 2021. Happy New Year. Many blessings to y'all who watch us and your families. And we really praying for a really good year this year.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for following us on Instagram. Shout out to all the Girlfriends fan pages, all about Tracy, every outfit from Girlfriends, Girlfriends show. Shout out to Golden Brooks. She follows us. She interacts with our content. Shout out to everybody just who loves this show and supports us talking about it and engages with us on our posts, because I mean, this is our show and we can watch it and binge watch it over and over and over again, and we'll always talk about something new. So this particular episode, season 1, episode 14, is when Sean goes out of town for Valentine's Day. Strike one. And then Davis kind of, tries to slide in and, kind of get Joan to thinking about like what could be or what could have been. Now, mind you, Davis is still involved with his fiance Ava, who is a bit much. She reminds me of Joan, and I think that's why we kind of are hesitant of her. But what I want to talk about with this particular episode is, have you ever like been with someone and like had feelings for another guy, or like been in between two men and not in the way that we would like? So Mary kind of knows a lot of my tea in this, so I'm gonna just start with her.
So for me, I've had that experience when I was in college, and it was just because my first boyfriend was just literally the person I would always go back to when things were just not working. And so I've had that situation where like I was in a total different I don't even want to call it a relationship, but at that point in time, I was dating some other guy, and I still wanted to be back with my ex. So, 18, 19-year-old Mary, like I invited my ex over to my place, like in the hopes of like winning back. Oh my God. I was just really, really crazy. I mean, we kicked it, but he didn't get back with me. I haven't had that situation like come up in a while, but looking back, that was really shady. And when I was watching the episode this time around, and Davis's fiance, she's kind of bitchy,
Yeah,
right?
she is a bitch.
They're giving us like that angle. But I was starting to see from her perspective, I'm like, dang, Joan and Davis were shady. So it's kind of that thought process that maybe some women enter with when they see like their man with like an attractive woman or something like that, where they know that there's been something like that. So I actually was able to kind of see from her perspective, because like that was shady what I did. Like I was in a relationship and invited someone who I was not with over, in the hopes that like we would connect or rekindle. And so I kind of understood where she was coming from with that.
So so you were with someone and the guy that you liked was your ex.
Yeah.
How long were you with the current boyfriend, and how long had you been broken off from the previous guy?
I had been broken off from the previous guy for like a year. And then
feelings for him.
Yeah. So this was like, it's so crazy. I'm gonna have to write about this one time, but this is my first. So he has passed away. And so like there was just this, like even up until a few years ago, I always held him like on a pedestal. Like no matter what doesn't work, I was always like, I am going to be with him in the end. Like it don't even matter, whatever doesn't work. So obviously as you grow up, you kind of lose that sentimentality. But yeah, I was only with that dude. I was only with that dude for a couple months. And I think it was like within the first month. So I clearly didn't want to be with that guy. It is what it is.
I completely understand, because I feel like we know when, whether it's an ex or somebody else, we know when something just won't work. But I think part of us wants to be in a relationship we know it's just not going to be with that person. So we find somebody else to just kind of occupy our time, maybe make that person not in your situation, but maybe make that person jealous, or feel like we're trying to get that person off of our mind, or maybe we feel like we need to date someone in order to move on. Obviously, these are not healthy methods and they make no sense. And, someone ends up heartbroken in the end. But I think with Joan, she just always wondered what if with Davis. And, when there are certain parts of your relationship that are lacking, i.e., Sean wasn't as affectionate. He left town for Valentine's Day. Like, okay, I get it. You have to work, but
was that shady to you? Because he said like, oh, I didn't, like, he was on a business trip or something, but like, I think Joan's complaint was like, he didn't call her for like 3 days, right? Like he had ghosted.
Right. I feel like that was shady. And then if it's a business trip, like take her with you and say like, okay, during the day I have this, but I'm going to like, it's Valentine's Day. Y'all just got back. Y'all just really got together. Y'all just got over like you telling her you're a sex addict. Like, why would you leave town, not call her Valentine's Day weekend? Like Joan was wrong for having Davis all in her house and all of that. Like she let it go too far. But I just feel like with Davis, like he definitely took Joan for granted a lot. And then he knows that she's like high strung in her mind, comes up with all these crazy scenarios. So when she do something stupid, it's just like, what do you expect, sir? Like, you not finna leave me, not call me Valentine's Day weekend and then come back like, oh, you got another man in here. Nigga, where was you at?
Weird. Yeah, that was shady. But this episode kind of made me realize like there were certain little things Joan was saying. Like, I always liked Davis and Joan together. And this episode made me realize like, I really wish they would have made this one be the situation that worked. Because Sean, if you realize, there was a part in the episode where she was tempted to go on that trip with Davis, but then Sean was like, I'm about to like build your new bathroom, and she was like, oh, you're my architect. And then when she was talking with her girls about like pros and cons, also Toni was like extra level funny this episode. She just hit like all her comedic time. But I think Joan, it kind of showed her, she kind of showed she was a status chaser, because she kept on throwing out stuff about Sean. Well, Sean is an up and coming architect, and like Sean is this, Sean is that, but it wasn't really what she wanted from a man. The things that she wanted from a man weren't coming from him.
Do you feel like she was doing all that and saying all of that to convince herself?
I definitely think so. I think Joan is one of those people, and like I've been in this situation too, who Joan has a list of things she truly wants as a woman, and she also has a list of things that she thinks she should expect based off of what other people think. And like, that's hard to kind of break that, like, well, I'm a lawyer, I'm established, like, I should have this, I should be with a high ranking Black man, I should, and like all the girls kind of had that too, because Toni had that kind of thought process with like Greg as well. So I feel like as women, and like I've really been like working through that too, we have to come to a situation where it's like, okay, cut out the noise. What do you yourself want? What would you want in the partner if there was nobody else in the world that could like tell you their opinion?
That's a word. That is definitely a word, because we get told like gender roles, your role as a Black woman, your role as a woman, your role as a millennial, your role in a relationship to the Black man. And you're right. We need to just sit down and be like, what do I want? What makes me happy? What can I look for in a partner that would make me happy, that I can reciprocate? You know what I'm saying? I just feel like it's all about like compatibility. So yeah, I didn't even like think about that, but no, you're absolutely right. This episode is kind of tough for me because I'm spilling all my tea. We just gonna talk about it. So and Mary knows this. I definitely was in a situation where I was fully engaged, my second engagement actually. Um and I think I kind of did what Mary did, and I kind of sat with myself and said, you know, you've agreed to this. You said yes, you know. I felt like I was pressured into it, but okay. Um and as time goes on, you start to realize that this person is not like a bad person. Like, we don't have all of these issues. We're great together, but I'm not as in love as I would want to be when it comes to someone being my husband. And I think that's so important because there's a lot of pressure on women to get married by a certain age, or you're with someone for so long. Okay, when are you getting married? And oh, you know, you both graduated college, now it's time to do X, Y, and Z. And I specifically remember, I don't know if it was an engagement party or if it was just his graduation or something, but um we were all like talking like with his family, and one of my friends was like, oh well, because you know I was trying to move to LA like
Yeah.
that whole time, like that was on my mind. And one of my friends was like, oh, you still moving to LA, right? And before I could even open my mouth, one of his aunts was like, of course not, she's gonna follow him and they're gonna get married, they're gonna have kids, da, 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 da. And in that moment, like, it may have felt like something was so small, and that person answering a question that was asked to me, but I felt so silenced in that moment, and I felt like, damn, like, do I have a say in my own life or anything? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if we wanted to do long distance? But I also realized that that was not something that we had fully discussed. Like, we clearly had communication issues in the aspect of like, we both wanted different things, but we never really came together to talk about what we wanted. And it was at such a pivotal moment in both of our lives. You know, he was going off to grad school, and I wanted to come out here and just really figure out what the hell I wanted to do with my life. So at that point, I just kind of felt like, okay, we'll just continue on and see where it goes. And, you know, maybe my first year in LA, I realized that I didn't miss this person as much as you would miss someone that, you know, you have their ring on your finger and you've been together for a long time or whatever. We didn't have any fights or arguments, like nothing was, you know, toxic or crazy, but I just feel like I came out here and I really found my independence and my voice and myself. And not it came to the point where I did not need this person. And I know you're not supposed to like need anybody, but I feel like when you're in a true partnership, when you're really in love and when you really are a team, you don't feel whole without knowing that that person is going to be with you soon. And I think with Joan, it's just like you have these holes and these gaps in your emotions and in your relationship. So you start to look elsewhere and say like, okay, who can fill this void, because you don't know how to fill it yourself.
Right.
So I wasn't in between like anybody. Like, I definitely never like cheated on anybody. That's not who I am. But there was a time where, you know, I told this person we needed to take a break and, you know, step back from the relationship and maybe reevaluate. And you know, we were broken up, we were done. And, you know, I met my current partner, and he just was all of these things, and it just made so much sense. You know what I'm saying? It just was so clear. Like, I can't even explain like why I was like, this is where I want to be, you know? And at times you question yourself and you think, okay, am I ungrateful because this man is so good to me and he wants to marry me? You know what I'm saying? Am I like being too picky because, you know, society tells us that we are to get married and do things in a timely manner, and we're not supposed to really have a whole lot of input on the trajectory of our lives as it pertains to like marriage and partners and things like that. You're just supposed to take what you can get. But I feel like I made a very conscious decision to be like, no, I want to be insanely happy and content in every aspect of my life. So it was definitely hard. Like, you know that you were there. But I think at the end of the day, like, I made the best decision for everybody involved because, you know, as you know, he is happy with someone else. I saw they had a beautiful wedding. It seems like they have a beautiful relationship. I'm over the moon happy for him because I would have been a shit wife if we had gotten married. The worst, the absolute worst. And now, you know, I'm over the moon happy in my situation. So I think when it comes to like being in between like certain people and not really knowing like who you should go with or like what's going on, you just have to do a lot of soul searching. And in addition to that, like you have to talk to whoever you're with or not with and just kind of communicate those feelings like, hey, like I'm starting to think that maybe we aren't the best fit, like, and this is why. Like, you can't just say like, oh, I want to talk to this person. Like, no, you have to tell them why. And I think that's the mistake that I made because I was young and I wasn't able to articulate like why I felt that way. And I think that was what was so hurtful for that person because I just kind of was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I couldn't articulate, like I couldn't put it into words, but I just knew what felt right and what felt wrong. And I knew that pursuing that and disregarding how I felt would have felt wrong. So yeah, I understand where Joan was coming from, but she also definitely needs to, well, I felt like in those situations, like you have to talk to your partner. Like, I don't like that you went out of town for Valentine's Day. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that you didn't call me, you know, like you have to like, and it has to be communicated in a way that is not mean or hurtful, but just being saying like, hey, like, you know, this hurt my feelings. I think that's what the difference is. Like you telling someone they hurt you and that person loving you enough to being like, okay, I don't want to hurt this person that I care about. Because somebody who truly loves you will take that feedback and will be better about it. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just about having those conversations and telling that person when you're unhappy. Whew, that's tough when you really in a relationship and knowing how to have those conversations. Like that was a big one with this one right here. You know what I'm saying? Because we were so used to communicating in a certain way. And I think you are so used to certain toxic relationships that can kind of spiral into something else. You don't really know how to have those productive adult conversations. Like everything's a fight. So, yeah, I think with Joan, like she just did not know how to tell the man that hurt her, like, you hurt me and this is what you did that hurt my feelings and I do not like it. So where do we go from here? You know what I'm saying? She's definitely very passive. But do we think that Sean would have been the type to take that feedback or be defensive?
I think Sean would take the feedback only based off of maybe some like episodes after that showed him trying to prompt Joan. Cause like Joan played games, as we always say. And he was just like, why don't you say, he literally said in an upcoming episode, can you tell me what you mean? Like, why don't you just tell me what you mean? Which takes a lot less time than like Joan would be playing these little mind games and like Scrabble boards and like, come on, like just like you literally took an hour. And it's scary. Like, to your point, I really admire you because like in your previous situation, we were so young. And that is a situation that I think if I was in, like, I don't even know if I would have had the courage to, at that age, to say like, hey, this isn't for me. Because if you look at like how everything has transpired, you both are super happy. And I don't know, you know, anything about like his new situation, but it's obviously taught him enough to take that step again, right? Because it could have been to the point where it would have, maybe he would have never proposed again because it was so traumatizing, but that situation helped the both of you, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure like he's super thankful, like, okay, now I know what to look for when I'm doing this again. And he probably made a really, really careful decision based off of that. So I know you were saying like you didn't know how to articulate, but like I also think you have to give yourself grace because like we were in our early 20s. Like, that's what was expected, right? You know, in the orders that of what you do after college. You get married, you follow your man, you do what he does, and then y'all get a house and y'all have kids, and then that's what it was. But I feel like real life is not like that. And that was a real life situation. And I definitely admire you for it, just because, like, it's so scary. Like, it is so scary to say, hey, at a time I thought this was what worked for me, and now it's not. So, you know, obviously, you know, years later we look back like, oh, I could have handled this a little bit better. But I definitely think that was probably pivotal for you, like, in your growth as a woman as well. And I always bring up the age thing because I was talking to my therapist about something that happened, and I was like, I didn't handle it well. Like, I feel like I could have done this. And he was just like, what did he tell me? He was like, adolescence is up until 24, which I didn't know. He was like, that's why, you know, when parents are kicking their kids out and like things are happening within like 18 and 24, like, I literally tell my patients, like, people are not grown mentally until 24 most of the time. So it's like, we really got to give ourselves grace in some of those situations. Like, we're not fully developed. But back to the show, Joan should have just been clear about, like, hey, you went, I didn't hear from you, you hurt my feelings, and it made me think about, like, hey, this is what I need, and someone else is making me think that maybe you don't have everything I need. I think he would have been receptive to it. Would he have tried to make her feel guilty? Yes, because I do think Sean's a little manipulative. Like,
man, that's what they do.
Exactly. Like, you don't disappear and you do not call your girlfriend like for 3 days, Valentine's Day weekend, and then you don't pop up at my house. Like, what was the point of that? You know? So it was so funny when he was like, well, you got another dude already, because it did seem like it. But if you're in a relationship, you're supposed to communicate with your partner. I don't care what is happening. Like, let them know you're safe. Let them know you're okay. So they both have faults in it, but I think it definitely highlighted the fact that Joan truly doesn't mesh with Sean. It is just one of those situations where he fits into her mold of like what she's supposed to be with. So she's going to accept whatever.
You're absolutely right. It's like lawyer, architect, like, you know, they're both like professional people. They look good together. Yeah. I think with that, it was about appearances, because he wasn't digging you down. Like, you hadn't slept with him at that point. So what was really keeping you there? Exactly. And what I've learned, I feel it in my spirit. What I've learned from being with Curtis for 5 years, going on 6, the uncomfortable conversations in your relationship are where the most growth happens. Yeah. Like, there have been times where I just did not want to have these conversations. Like, I felt embarrassed, scared, or hesitant. And he's probably felt that same way. But it's in those ugly moments when you have two people who are really willing to put in the work and not be malicious about it and not be toxic with it. And still find ways to speak respectfully and like say your piece. Those are the moments when you truly like grow, because you've known, like, it started off, you know, and we had to really just be like, okay, we love each other. Like, we can't stay away from each other. Let's not make this toxic. Let's not make this a battle. You know what I'm saying? Like, your home and your relationship should be your peace. So how do we get to the peace? And you're right, with Joan, she was very passive, and Sean was very, you know, he just wanted to be direct. And when you get people like that, both of y'all have to change in certain aspects. Like, you have to be more vocal, and Joan, and Sean has to like watch what he says and how he says it. So yeah, you have to really come together and learn how to communicate specifically for each other.
I agree with that. I think that's the part that sometimes we forget as we go into a relationship. Like, you have to tweak some things. Like, yes, you're going to be yourself in a relationship, but to your point about like speaking respectfully or because like even in my relationship, like my partner is very direct, like straight shooter.
Oh, he is. We love him.
Like just a very direct individual. I think it comes off as like mean, right? You know, because I talk around things and I will not, you know, directly say what I want, but I think it's important to take a little bit of the other's personality, or when you're interacting with that person, realize the person that you're interacting with. So like I know with my partner, like he doesn't want to play guessing games. You know, I'm similar to Joan in that aspect where I'll be like, well, let's play Scrabble so I can tell you like how I feel through this game, because I don't want to tell you what's wrong for real. And versus he's just gonna be like, hey, you're pissing me off. And I'm like, that's me.
And he will literally say that, oh, I love Ashton so much. Yeah. Like, gee, you tweaking right now.
He will. So for me, it'll actually help you grow, because I realized like I was passive in a lot of areas. So now I'm feeling like, okay, in my relationship, I can be extremely honest, like respectful, of course, but I can be honest. And like, I've been taking that to other aspects of like my life too, like conversations that I've been nervous to have, or like awkward to have, or like situations in the workplace. It's been helping me work on like, okay, there's a way I can be respectful, but also not get walked all over. So I think you made a good point about you kind of have to adjust to your partner's, the communication styles.
It's about balance. Like I'm like you, and if you don't say something to me the right way, I completely shut down. Like I don't care. I don't care. Even if you're right, I don't care, because I don't like how you said it to me.
Yes.
And in their mind, it's like you're being too sensitive. But hold on, you don't have the right to say like how I received something, because it's how I received it. But me, I'm such a jerk that I don't like people talking to me away, but I can talk to you any kind of way. And he used to check me on that shit. And I'm like, okay, you right. So I had to learn how to like pick my battles and hold my tongue. And then we have this thing where when we have those moments where we're getting frustrated with each other or annoyed or whatever, we'll, you know, take a few minutes and be in separate areas of the house. And then we'll kind of just lay together and cuddle and like have conversations in like a calmer tone, because, you know, my mouth is reckless. And then Curtis is definitely an alpha male. He's not with the bullshit. So we have to tap into the soft sides of each other. And he said something to me one day. He was like, you think that I would say something to maliciously hurt you? I would never do that. But he was like, I understand that my tone can be off sometimes. So when those moments happen, like I need you to come to me in a certain way. That way we can kind of, you know, move past.
That is so sweet and mature.
Girl,
like
he gets on my nerves.
I have a conversation like that, but his has been like, I don't even be mean to you. I don't even be trying to be mean to you. Like,
that's a Chicago nigga right there. Like, gee, what you mean? Shorty, you tweet, go crazy, Shorty.
No, literally, he'd be like, well, actually, like, I actually try not to be, I don't, you know, be mean to you, but, you know, we're working on it. We're getting there. You know, it's a lot better.
It takes time. Like, it took a few years for us to really get that. But in those moments, like, because now how we handle and resolve like disagreements and conflict, like I can't even fathom like how we used to. Like I couldn't imagine reacting and acting that way, like on both sides. We're just so chill now. It's because we had those moments and we did the work. And I think with Joan and Sean, like they just, I mean, it was a show, obviously, but they hadn't like, you know, done the work, because anybody that's been married and been together for years and years and years will tell you about the rough patches that they had, or the times that, you know, somebody got their car burnt up or scratched up. You know what I'm saying? Like you have these crazy reactions, but it's how you learn to like grow from it. So I think that is what kind of like makes or breaks a relationship, but it takes time. I always kind of wanted to rush it and get to the happy part, but it's like, no, baby, you can't just go straight up. It's not an elevator, it's a ladder.
It's funny you said rush it and get to the happy part. What my issue is from my past, everything that's an argument to me automatically means like it won't work. That is something that like my partner has been working on with me because he's very developed in that area. For him, an argument is an argument that we resolve and we move on. For me, when we first started our relationship, anything that was an argument, I'm like, okay, we're done.
It's over. Sorry. It's over. I'm sick of your shit. Get out my house.
I'm single. Cheers to Mary being single. Like that was, I didn't realize how toxic that was because I don't know why, but I just always thought disagreements equaled people shouldn't be together, you know, and I don't know where I got that from, but like that was really heavily embedded in me. So that's something that I've worked on where it's like, hey, an argument, let's resolve it and move on. It's not, okay, we're breaking up, but it took me a while.
You know, and see, we said that we would bring our men on here, and Curtis said that he would, depending on the episode. I think Ashton and Curtis will really like each other. That's what we need to talk about.
Yes, no, we could actually do, maybe we could do like a bonus shooting where we just, you know, on and ask them questions.
We gotta find the right episode because Lord knows I'm gonna have to jump through this screen on Ashton. But we love him. No, you're absolutely right. And I was the same way. And Curtis kind of had to check me on that too. Like, yo, like everything that we bump heads about does not mean that it's over. It's just something that we have to get over. And I think that's a trauma response when you've been through BS with some men.
I was gonna say it's the men that we have been with in the past fault because
it's all their fault.
Did not communicate through arguments and fights, right? And they would be shady and like some men will do that, right? Like things are not going right, they'll go out and cheat or they'll do something disrespectful. Like there's no like resolution for arguments, it's just silence. So yes, it's not our fault.
It's a trauma response. We have PTSD. And you know what's crazy? What I realized, because you saw me through my first relationship in college, it was a trauma response to me because I felt like I had to break up with him before he broke up with me.
Ooh.
Like, and we did that a million times in like 2 to 3 years. And it's just like, you always want to be the first one to do it. It's so stupid. It's so childish. And it definitely be carried on. Yeah.
That makes college, like in the age that we were at, like nobody wants to be hurt. Right now, we're in relationships where there is that conscious decision that, hey, if this doesn't work out, someone's going to be hurt, but we're still putting ourselves out there. Yeah. We weren't mature enough to like really put ourselves out there back then.
Right. And it was college. So it's just like, okay, like you said, it was such a game because it's like, okay, whoever breaks up first, like, I'm going to see you that night at a party. We're going to have a moment. Then we're going to go home. You know what I'm saying? It was such a stupid ass game. And you just got so used to it. And you carry that on to your adult relationship. But let me tell you about messing with a grown ass man, because Curtis is older than me by a few years. He was not having it. He was like, you either don't be running in and out my house. Get your ass somewhere and sit down. And I was like, okay.
Is it
like it here? So
even though they were like, man, when you fucking with an older dude, one mistake and he done cut you off. Like you can't be playing these games with these older men. They don't play that.
Listen, you got to take the medicine at 5. So what you talking about at 3, if it ain't resolved by 5:10.
Oh my God.
But you know,
crazy. We've learned, it's so crazy how much we've learned and how we're able to apply it, where like we can even watch a TV show and kind of pick at like, hey, we see the movements that are not right. And hindsight is 2020. Like we had to go through all those things to be able to be in this moment, to be like, okay, this is what it for your personal relationship, and then for my personal relationship, obviously it's going to be different, but there's just certain communication that you need to have just for a relationship to function at like a minimum level.
Right. It's like learning each other and growing from those mistakes and mishaps. Like you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like eventually you have to that's going to take time too, because it's those old habits, that PTSD. See, men will screw you up for life. And I want to talk about that next week, how it's all men's fault. Shout out to Nick Bates, because I know he watches us and he can't wait to come on here. He said, I want to come on there, talk about how women are trash. Well, we are too, but it's your fault.
How we don't take accountability.
That's true too. Because even in us, like, admitting our faults, we still was like, no, but it was that nigga fault.
He did it. Yeah, we definitely got to see some of the upcoming episodes. I think the next one would be a good one, because I believe the next one is about Joan trying to tell Sean that he sucks.
Bad.
So it would be a good one to bring guys like, hey, have you been told? How have you been told? It would be a good one to invite.
Ooh, I got to work on that. I'm gonna text you when we wrap up, because we got to make that one. We got to make that one good.
That's got to be a good one. Yeah, I was watching it. That today's in a couple episodes, and once again, we gonna talk about communication next week, because once again,
it all boils down to communication. And on that note, thank you guys for joining us for this episode of Girlfriends with Girlfriends. This was episode 14. Next week, we're going to talk about episode 15. That is when Sean got on top of Joan, did 10 push-ups, and rolled over and went to sleep. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, my Ghanaian queen, for during all those COVID tests and getting back to us safely. We are so happy to have you with this blonde wig, honey. Yes. I'm gonna get this one colored. What you think? Should I get it colored like lighter?
Do color, because I want to get one of mine colored too. Because now that I tried like something synthetic, I'm like, okay, I can see it. I'm gonna try to color one of my other ones, but do it. If you don't like it, you just put it jet black again.
You so smart. That's why I have her around me, y'all. And on that note, I'm about to text you because we got some more things to talk about. But thank you guys for joining us. Let us know what you think. Have you ever been in between two guys, and what was the cause of that? Like, was it communication issues? Like, what were you lacking in that relationship that caused you to wander? So thank you guys for joining us. Me and my one earring, and Mary and her beautiful hair. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye, y'all.